Okay, once again, House Education, Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, continuing our discussion of the miscellaneous education bill section by section. I think we're about to have 2 to 3 minutes worth of testimony, maybe less, about the difference between policy and procedures and who carries out each part and why those changes are in this bill. We'll turn it over to Sandra Cameron from the Vermont School Boards Association to clarify for us that that's what's going on here.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be in your committee this morning. And you are exactly correct. The Senate Ed Committee heard our testimony and our request to clarify the responsibility around adoption of policy and implementation of procedures. And so the language that you see in H480 draft 13.2 is what we requested. I've provided to you in the written testimony, Act 150 of 2024 made several amendments to laws governing public and school libraries, and now codified as 16 VSA 1624C. There's an established requirement for each school board and each independent school to develop, adopt, and ensure enforcement of library materials, selection policy, and procedures. That's the key language right there. And for the reconsideration and retention of materials that affirms the importance of intellectual freedom, guided by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Vermont's laws prohibiting discrimination in places of public accommodation, and then this bold language, again, the American Library Association's freedom to read statement, Vermont's freedom to read statement, and then there's some continuing language there. So our first request was to clarify roles and responsibilities around the policy and the procedure, and the language you see is what we asked for. And then the second request was to provide a date to those statements, association statements, so that as they change over time, the intention to point to those statements as a basis for this statute remains constant. For example, the American Library Association statement has already changed 4 times. And so if it should change again, we think it would be helpful for statute to point to the version that this law was based in. So that was the second request. And draft 13.2 does that as well.
All right. Questions? Oh, come on, people.
Very straightforward.
All right. Yes. Representative Hunter.
What's your favorite book?
Of Mice and Men stands out from high school, doesn't it?
What's your favorite band?
Representative Brady is suggesting that every time we have witness testimony, we end with what our 2 books should recommend.
Oh gosh, put me on the spot. I have a lot of favorites. A lot of favorites. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, favorites hard.
Sarah's Key. I haven't read Sarah's Key. That's a good one.
Which one?
Sarah's Key. It's a story about World War II.
Yes, how I built this happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, did you reach your success based on luck or skill? Okay, you don't need to answer any of these questions.
Okay.
And before we embarrass ourselves any further, we'll conclude our testimony on this matter. Thank you very much, Sam.